Okay, welcome to my channel today. Today I've got a topic I'm going to talk about, and that topic is entitlement. I chose this topic because of something that had been brought to my attention just recently. Now, I know I've said that I watch quite a lot of YouTube videos and also Instagram, and one instance in particular that I saw really got my curiosity going and made me start to think about why people feel entitled to things, all sorts of things and all sorts of people. Now, this particular incident that I saw on YouTube was in America, and it was at I think a baseball game. Now, a ball had been hit up into the crowd. Now, my understanding from all the comments and everything on that channel, on that video, was that when the ball goes into the crowd, it's basically for kids. And in this particular incident, the ball went up into the crowd, landed down, I think, a step below this woman. And a guy came off from the side, rushed across, bent down and picked up the ball before the lady could get down and pick it up, and took it back and gave it to her son. Now, you might think, well, you know, should he have rushed right across and taken it before she had a chance to get it? But any time I've seen balls going into the crowd anywhere, it's the first that gets their hands on it is the one that, you know, possession is 9/10 of the law. Now, this lady stormed across to where the guy was standing with his son. Never heard the conversation, but obviously gave him a piece of her mind and right up in his face. And in the end, the guy just handed the ball over and gave it back to her, and away she walked. There was lots and lots of comments on this. From what I understand, the comments were that apparently she even lost a job over it. Now, I don't quite know employment law or anything like that over in America. I don't pretend to. But what got me thinking was, who had a sense of entitlement to think that they were entitled to take possession of that ball? Was it the lady who was standing a step up and that was in the process of getting down to where the ball had landed? Or was it the guy that came off from the side and scooped it up, because he was on the same level as the ball? He scooped it up and took it back for his son. Now, this goes on all the time. I have seen many times where balls have been thrown or hit into the crowd and people catch it. Sometimes they'll hand it off to a kid if there's a kid next door. But this particular incident sort of struck me as thinking, how many people go through life feeling entitled to things? And what is it that makes them feel entitled? Now, the first thing I think about is, I think about inheritance. When someone dies, they leave a will to whomever they believe that they want to leave their estate to. They're supposed to be of sound mind when they make their will, but so many times the family or someone will come along and contest the will because they believe for some reason that they are entitled. Now, if I decide to leave my possessions to any of my kids, I will be doing it for a reason, and I would expect that reason to be adhered to once I've gone. No matter who comes out of left field and feels entitled to inherit my assets. So that's one incident. I've had a bit of an issue over this in my time, which I won't go into, but it found a solution in the end. It wasn't me that contested a will. Then I look at the other areas where people feel entitled. People's skin colour seems to give them entitlement over people with different skin colour. And this for no other reason that because of their skin colour, they form an opinion of that person, where they come from, what their background is, and whether or not they should have entitlement over something. I can't see what skin colour has got to do with entitlement. We're all human beings. We all bleed the same colour. We all go to the toilet. We all do things the same. Why would people with one skin colour feel that they're entitled to privileges over another person with a different skin colour? Now, I know this goes on all around the world, and it annoys the hell out of me. Some people just feel entitled that because they've been blessed with one particular skin colour or one particular eye shape or one particular hair type, that they've got some sort of entitlement over another human being without really knowing anything at all about them. The other thing is to move on from skin colour, then I move on to race. Why do people who live in a country, who are immigrants themselves, back probably several centuries ago, why do they feel more entitled than a more recent immigrant, or they feel entitled over and above Indigenous people that were there prior to them even being there? I just have to remind people that we're put on this land, this beautiful planet of ours. We're only caretakers of that land for the time that we're here. And the onus is on us to take care of that land to the best of our ability, and if possible, leave it in a better position, at least the same position, if not better, than when they found it. You can't say that's happening. Unfortunately, we're not taking care of our planet because so many people feel entitled. Businesses, mining companies, and the list could go on forever of people or groups of people that feel entitled to take over land and possessions of other people who themselves are only caretakers of the land in the first place. I go back then to status. I look at people's status on whereabouts in society they sit, whether they're high society, bottom of the barrel, middle class people. There's people that feel they've always got entitlement over people of a lower status than they are. This comes from wealth, from the very wealthy, obviously feel that they've got entitlement over their workers, the people that support their businesses, their customers. They feel entitled because of the status that they have. They feel entitled to things. Then again, we look at possession. Possession can often give people a sense of entitlement. I have an instance where my daughter and son-in-law a few years ago bought a property. They were going to buy it. They bought it as a rental property. Unfortunately, they bought it sight unseen. It was in an area that guaranteed good income. And when they finally signed over and bought the property, they knew that it was on a split section. There was a house in front of it that was privately owned, and their place was on the back, subdivided on the back section. And they had ownership of that. What they didn't realise was that the person who had ownership of the front property, her son had been squatting in the place behind, and he wouldn't get out. And the mother had people of influence, I wouldn't say good influence, I mean bad influence, that told the son not to get out. And my son and daughter had that house for 2 years with a squatting son in there who paid no rent at all because his family told him not to. My daughter and son-in-law were in no position to go and kick them out. And so they ended up selling the property. I'm not quite sure who they sold it to. Can't remember what the circumstances were. But because that guy had possession of the place, he felt entitled. He felt entitled to live in there rent-free and not stump up with any rent or anything at all like that, or even move in with his mother who lived in the front section. He could have easily done that. But that was a case of possession. He had possession of the property and he felt entitled to live there. Now, they always say that possession is 9/10 of the law. It can be, but then in other cases it can't be. Just because you have possession of something, it doesn't mean to say that you own it. You might, the odds might be stacked in your favour for the owner getting that possession back again. But your sense of entitlement doesn't give you a legal right to stay there or to hold on to that possession. So I look at all these ideas of possession, and in particular I look at the period of colonisation around the world. The world was inhabited by indigenous peoples from all around the world. And when the British and the Portuguese and the French and other colonisers decided to move in, they took over that land because they felt entitled. Most of the time it was done through force. They had overwhelming power because of their, at that time, modernisation, because compared with the indigenous peoples. But there was this sense of entitlement, that the land was there, they had the power, they had the strength, and they wanted the land because it was going to increase their power on a global scale. And to this day, people are still fighting over land. You've got the situation in Gaza. Obviously, Netanyahu believes he's entitled to that land in Gaza. And obviously, Putin believes he's entitled to take over the land in Ukraine. What gives them that idea of entitlement? Then you get to, I guess, the most common one that we see these days. And sadly, they've been nicknamed Karens on the internet, who seem to think that they're entitled to tell people what to do, where to be, where they can stand, where they can sit, what they can look at. Why do people feel entitled? If a guy is out mowing somebody's lawn for nothing because he's trying to help somebody out, why does somebody from up the street feel entitled to come up and say, "Get off the street or I'm going to call the police"? What are the police going to do? The police, there's nothing under the law that the police can do. So why do people feel entitled to tell people what they can and cannot do? If it was me, I'd tell them to bugger off and mind their own business. And I'd probably be a bit more forceful than that. But I do believe that when you get these Karens coming along, I know the filming and everything is for entertainment value or for getting likes and things on YouTube and other bits and pieces, but I don't know why the people aren't far more aggressive back towards those Karens and telling them just to get out of my face. I don't care what you think. I don't care if you think you're entitled. Just get out of my face and go away. So we'll watch with, shock at the way that some Karens behave. But I just wish more people would stand up and tell them where to go, quite frankly, because I wouldn't tolerate it. And what's more, I wouldn't tell anybody what they can and can't do, where they should be, what they should be doing, if it was none of my business. If you don't like what someone's doing, turn away, walk up the street, go in the other direction and forget about it. Don't make a big fuss and pretend that it's my entitlement that's letting me tell you what you can do and what you can't do. It's a load of rubbish. Just tell them where to get off. So that's my little talk on entitlement. And of course, you probably realise that when I come up with my topics, it's usually as a result of something that sparks my interest, something that I've read or heard or something that's happened around the world or with me. It brings back a memory of mine. So this is what this is where I get my ideas from to do my talks on my channel. And I'm sure I'll keep coming up with ideas. I never seem to run out. So I hope everyone's enjoyed making some sense out of this. If you haven't, well, maybe you will with the next one, because the next one will be coming along probably tomorrow. And in the meantime, I will say to everybody, stay safe, take care, thank you for being here. My name is June, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.